Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, January 9th, 2022. Coming at you live from the Hockey Night in New York studios on Long Island. Another magnificent show coming up for you tonight here at Hockey Night in New York. Chris King, Islanders radio voice, will be joining us. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Christian Arnold. Christian, how are you?
I'm good, Shawnee. How you doing, bud?
I'm well. Now that the Islanders have officially retired from hockey, I've tried to, find some new hobbies, come up with some other things to do. But I'm good. It's hopeful, I guess, now that there's going to be Islander hockey this week. We got another kind of wrench in the plans, potentially, with the announcement about the Devils tomorrow. But Hockey Night in New York rolls on. I'm good, man.
Nice. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, without further ado, I'd love to remind you all that we are proud to be presented by R.J. Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 2798 Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. It is the best place to catch the Isles when you can't be at the game. Head on down for great food and drink specials, plenty of HD TVs, and in-game sound. Also happy to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, and, of course, UBS Arena at Belmont. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders. Check them out at BlueLineDeli.com to see the menu and all their great offerings. Also happy to be sponsored by Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Ty Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service. And happy to be sponsored by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, creator of the Barn Rocker Session Ale, available at 12 locations at the Islanders' brand new home in UBS Arena, and even more distributors across the country from coast to coast. You can visit the tap room at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay 7 days a week to sample all their fantastic beverages. And, of course, remember to get your questions in for the Questions Brewing segment, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing later in the show. So, Christian, as I said, the Islanders didn't play any hockey this week. But the other side of that coin is they're getting healthy. They're getting guys back off a COVID protocol. Pretty much the only guy left is Ryan Pulock. We'll see where he's at. Maybe he'll be back by the time they play hockey, whenever that may be. But you get guys like Brock Nelson back. You get guys like Oliver Wahlstrom back, Kyle Palmieri. So they're going to be close to a full, healthy roster by the time a puck drops on an Islander game, whenever that happens in the future. So what do you say, CA?
Well, now is a great time to go see the Bridgeport Islanders.
Sure is. It sure is.
No, I mean there's definitely a silver lining to all of this, I guess. If you're trying to be positive, I think that is it. Everyone's healthy. Ryan Pulock has not missed as many games as I think a lot of people thought he was going to, because of the whole situation that's developed in the last month or so with the COVID and with games having to be rescheduled and all of this. So it's worked out somewhat advantageously for the New York Islanders there in that regard. Obviously, it's not great that there's no games being played, and I'm sure it's a little weird for the players too. I mean, everyone's kind of go from that stop and start mode, and now after they come back, theoretically anyway, whether that's Thursday or whether that's Saturday when the Islanders are scheduled to play the Washington Capitals in the afternoon at UBS Arena. Mm-hmm. Then it's really then it's back on. Then the Islanders are playing, I think, a ton of games
all the time.
Right, all the time. And so it goes from you're in a position where you're not playing anything to you're playing every other day. You're playing two games back-to-backs. Yep. So it's going to be an interesting scenario for the team, because I'm sure they're raring to go to get back on the ice in an actual competitive game. But then the flip side is then you have to be, once you're back in the mix of things, the Islanders need to win every one of those games, or almost every one of them right now.
A good portion of them, yes.
And so there's going to be a lot of pressure for them to start winning games once they're back on the ice in competitive form. And it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes for them to adapt back into that mode, how long it really takes for them to acclimate, because they've had really, 2 weeks, a week and a half off?
Yeah, and there's so many things that play into it. And if you're searching for other silver linings, I guess you could say, you know what, they've had plenty of time to practice too.
Right.
Because you hear a lot of talk about when you get into the thick of a season, you don't really get a lot of time in for practicing. And, obviously that helps on the special teams end and whatnot. And as we've seen, it has improved for the Islanders. So maybe that's something else that's, a small positive for them, being able to practice, not only practice, but get more regulars into the practices and, get those guys reacclimated with their line mates and whatnot.
Yeah.
And hopefully they are a little more ready to go when it's time for the pucks to drop. It's just funny because, like you said, they're probably chomping at the bit, and, you can only kind of wait so long until the games come. And to get that news tonight about the Devils game tomorrow being postponed, they have 7 guys on their COVID protocol list. So, I mean, Thursday might not happen. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe those few days, especially now with the reduced number of days that they have to stay in protocol, might actually help. Mm-hmm. The fact that you have 4 days between now and Thursday, maybe the Devils will be able to play, but it's definitely going to be unfortunate if the Islanders have to miss yet another game. I mean, because now they are far and away the only team with 28 games played.
Right.
The only team close to them is Ottawa, I believe, with 29.
That is correct.
And you got everybody else just playing more games. And, the Islanders' record stays the same. They're still 10, 12, and 6 in those 28 games. But now they're 12 points behind Boston instead of 8 because they've played a few games. But now they have 3 games in hand. So you have the 3 games in hand where you could make up 6 points, but now you're back 12. So the mountain gets taller,
right?
Because you still have to win those games in hand, even though those points are quote unquote available for you. If you don't win them, it doesn't matter. And like you said, they're going to be playing a lot of these games within a very concentrated amount of time. So not ideal, but they have no choice. They're just going to have to be up to the task if they want to make the playoffs.
When the schedule does resume, theoretically on Thursday, it's the Devils on Thursday, the Caps on Saturday. Philadelphia on the following Monday, the 17th, and then they play in Philadelphia the following night at the Wells Fargo Center, and then there's 2 days off, and then the Islanders have back-to-back set for I was going to say Phoenix, Arizona, and Toronto, and then they have 2 days off, but then it's a game every other night after that.
And that Toronto game was supposed to be in Toronto.
That's right.
And they flip-flopped, as we talked about last week, where now, and that actually goes into something else. We talked about maybe having a viewing party for that game at Oyster Bay Brewery. That unfortunately is not going to happen anymore because of that switch to a home game. So we can, everybody can go to the game if you want to go, and we'll have a party another time. But we'll get into Oyster Bay another night. Unfortunately, that's just the way of the hockey world right now. But yeah, a lot of home cooking coming up if no other teams get into COVID issues. And now there's another, I don't know, there's another element to this whole COVID situation. Now, once somebody tests positive, they don't have to be tested again for 90 days. Is that how that works?
Right.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. So assuming that that's the case, then once you guys getting on and off the COVID protocol list, you have 3 months to worry about the next time for that guy. So as long as they're not showing symptoms, they're not sick, they're kind of in the clear. Whether they are positive or not, I suppose, because they're not getting tested.
Right.
Which is also kind of a strange circumstance.
I'm not a doctor.
No, you're not. No, but you could have added something there, but once again,
I did.
You've let us down.
I'm not a doctor.
Christian is not a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. So I guess the hope is that now that you have so many guys with the Islanders that have already tested positive, been in protocol, that there's only so many guys left in the team that can actually test positive at this point. So maybe if they have any more games postponed, it might be at the behest of the opponent that they're playing, who might end up with guys on protocol, and not so much the Islanders.
Yeah, I think, again, the silver lining is that the Islanders are kind of in the clear, and it's sort of similar to what you're seeing in other sport leagues around the country. Like you look at the NBA and the Brooklyn Nets, for example. I mean, they were in a similar spot. They had 10 guys on their 13 guys overall go into COVID protocol, and now theoretically it's the same thing, right? You don't have to worry about it for the next 90 days.
Right.
So you're kind of in the clear while other teams are now going through it, unfortunately, around the rest of the league. And the NHL's been dealing with it for more and more as the Islanders have been coming out of protocol. So hopefully in that regard, the new guidelines help things move along where you're seeing less of these games having to be postponed or teams losing so many guys to COVID protocol for a longer period of time where it impacts so many games that now you can kind of get a more steady rhythm, a steady schedule going where teams aren't, the Islanders, for example, aren't just playing one game every 2 weeks and then they have a month off. So
right.
it certainly can't be good for the rhythm and just the chemistry. You could almost make an argument right now for anybody that's going through this, not just the Islanders, but the Islanders have been hit the worst by this because they continue to either at first it was just them.
Right.
They had so many people on COVID protocol, and then there wasn't fans being allowed into the stands. There's restrictions. NHL wants their money, so they're not playing those games now.
Right.
They're being rescheduled. So that's an entire road trip taken off the docket. And then you have the situation with Toronto again. So they flip the switch, and the Islanders are playing at home against Toronto, and then they'll play later in the year. So hopefully there'll be a little less maneuvering sooner rather than later, and we can kind of get a more concrete and a more structured schedule, a more consistent schedule. I don't even know what to say anymore.
I'm curious to see when we might see some of those February dates get filled in. That hasn't happened yet. I wonder when they're kind of looking at. I mean, obviously, I'm sure all the logistics and whatnot are still going into it. They're trying to see what nights are available for what arenas, what teams, and whatnot. But you got to figure something's got to be coming soon, to fill those dates.
I would imagine
it's 3 weeks available just to get some of these games in.
I would imagine you would see some, but no one said anything yet. But then again,
mom is the word.
The NHL, they'll probably announce it the day before, and then it'll be like, oh, there's 20 games on the schedule for the next 2 weeks.
Very, very possible. And one other fellow that's gotten back to the ice, Barry Trotz, has returned. He's been seen at practice. He's talking to the media again. So that's good. I don't know how much of a boost it is for the team. I mean, Lee Lambert did a good job in his absence, but obviously it's nice to have your coach back. Nice to see he's back from whatever personal reason that was that he was out. And Ryan Pulock's pretty much the only man, left to come back.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate circumstance. Barry Trotz's mother passed away. That was reported in Newsday, and he talked about it the other day when he spoke with the media. So, a sad event, a sad personal event that I know did leak at some point during the course of that all happening. But
kind of looking to avoid that.
It's an unfortunate circumstance. It sounded like the team really rallied around him and supported him, the organization as a whole, and giving him that time off. And again, silver linings for all the time off. The Islanders, Barry Trotz, he would have anyway, but he was free to kind of go home and, properly mourn the passing of a beloved family member in his own way and be able to do that without feeling like he's impacting the team in some way. So, again, the cancellations and the postponements kind of worked out in a weird way, if you even want to say that, but it's certainly a sad situation for Barry, and I know everyone's very happy that he's back and back with the team, and I think his first day was back on Saturday. I think I was reading that it was sort of a good sort of normalization for him too, going through so much off the ice, that it was nice to kind of have that normalization a little bit, or be back around the team and kind of locked into something else.
Yeah, I missed that piece from Newsday. I didn't even know that it was publicly released. So that's kind of the first time I knew it came out publicly. But obviously condolences to him, his family, and it's good to see him back.
Yeah.
But we got a break now.
All right.
So, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and, of course, on your favorite podcast platforms later on. When we come back, Chris King, the Islanders radio play-by-play voice, will join us. We'll be right back.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Kinger, are you with us?
I am with you guys.
There we go.
There we go. Fantastic.
Kinger, how are you? It's great to have you on the show again, as always.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. I'd say there's a lot to talk about with the Islanders, but hasn't been a whole lot going on with the extended vacation, you could almost call it. Now that we have some games potentially on the docket, Islanders are supposed to play the New Jersey Devils on Thursday. That is some question mark now, unfortunately, because of the situation going on with the COVID outbreak in New Jersey. But Kinger, for the Islanders now, which they'll either play Thursday or Saturday, what do you expect to see on the ice when they finally get back into action? Is this going to be a team that looks really rested and ready to go, or is there going to be some rust to shake off?
I mean, they look good coming out of the Christmas break, right? They had 10 days off in that one and, had a nice 4-1 victory over Buffalo and then an overtime win over Edmonton, and now into an 11-day break, which, as you said, Christian, might get longer. We certainly hope not, and that the Devils are going to get enough players out of protocol by Thursday night. But, all indications are they hopefully can do that again. Barry Trotz is back. That was a big story. He said, in his mind, they look very sharp in the one practice that he's been back. They had today off, and I'm sure they'll get back at it tomorrow. But I just don't know how you can, possibly have any kind of carryover momentum from those back-to-back wins when they're, 11 days ago.
Yeah, that's the one thing Sean and I have talked about kind of at length for a little bit of time. Every time these breaks seem to happen is historically, when you look back at the Islanders, it always seemed like they're a team that if they get a little bit of too much time off, that they kind of lose their momentum, regardless of who's been behind the bench or who's on the ice for the team. Is this year, it seems like maybe they're bucking that trend. Is that fair to say that they've kind of gone against that notion, at least the last couple times they've had one of these breaks?
Yeah, I guess you could with, again, the 10-day break is really the only example. They had that one stretch in the crazy start of the season where I think they played one game in a 10-day span with that 13-game road trip. So tough to tell. I mean, like I said, I like the way they looked in the Buffalo game. That was a big one for me, coming off 10 days off, but everybody was kind of coming off 10 days off there. Yeah. And then, the Edmonton win was super nice to get that in overtime and, to start the new year off on good footing. And, they haven't won 3 games in a row all year, guys. So this would be quite a way to do it. If they could just take the first game back, it would be their first 3-game winning streak of the season. So, I'm going to put my faith in what Lane Lambert's had to say about the practices the last couple of days, what Barry has said, what the players have said. They're saying all the right things, and certainly they're going to be a well-rested team. But, the Devils weren't scheduled to play after tomorrow night until Thursday night anyway. So the Devils are going to be coming in off a couple of days off as well. Now New Jersey will have an extended break as well. So I would think, if the game does get played, which hopefully it does, there's going to be rust on both sides. But I think the Islanders certainly, because of all those breaks they had at the start in that opening road trip, I think they had a 5-day break, a 4-day break, a couple of 3-day breaks. They're used to the breaks, if there is such a thing, right? And,
Absolutely.
And, maybe they have a slight advantage over the Devils in that regard.
No doubt, Chris. And just before you came on, we were also talking about the Islanders' place in the standings. Obviously, the fact that they haven't been able to move themselves up and down anywhere because they literally haven't played. But there are some teams ahead of them, one in particular that's been able to get some games in while they've been out, and that's the Boston Bruins. They were 8 points behind them last week. Now they find themselves 12 points behind them after the Bruins getting a couple of games, and they now have 3 games in hand. But is this mountain getting too high to climb here? I know the Islanders still have plenty of games to go, but can they make up that gap with the 3 games in hand, 12 points behind the Boston Bruins to get into a wild card spot?
It does start to look tougher and tougher, Sean, right? There's no doubt about it. And I think the troubling part for me is you look at what the Pittsburgh Penguins just did, right? They had a 10-game winning streak, the longest streak of any team this year in the National Hockey League, and they still couldn't crack the top 3 in the division. They still couldn't, they didn't get within 3 points of either Carolina, the Rangers, or the Capitals. They didn't get within 3 of any of them, with a 10-game winning streak. So if that's not going to put you in the playoff spot, certainly they solidified their playoff position as that top wild card. But that put a lot of distance between them now and everybody else that's chasing. So it's kind of like the Penguins are still trying to catch that group of 3 that's ahead of them, but a 10-game winning streak wasn't enough to do it. That tells you how good, the Rangers, the Caps, and the Hurricanes have been playing. The Islanders do actually have points in 9 of their last 11 games. It's kind of quietly, come back together for them if you look at the numbers. But yeah, when you can have a run like that for Pittsburgh and that doesn't get you into the top 3, The Bruins are the team that obviously you said they have to catch a dozen points back, 3 games in hand. Islanders still only a third of the way through the season, really, guys, with 28 games done. So lots of time. Barry has cited the Blues and what they did when they won that cup in 2019, dead last in the entire league at the end of January. And again, the only thing you can say is the Islanders, certainly have games in hand on their side, right? They've played the fewest games in the National Hockey League, but those games don't matter if you don't win them. So they've got to find a way to win them and then just slowly start chipping back at that Bruin team, because right now the Penguins have jumped so far ahead of the pack in the wild card chase that it's really just that second wild card spot that everybody's chasing right now.
Yeah, for sure. And what's become a common theme sort of on the show pretty much since the early going in the season, because of the slow start that the Islanders have had, is should they shake things up? Should they make a deal? Is that something they might want to explore? And it's kind of, again, like you look at it in a couple different ways. They have all these games to go. They have a chance to catch the Bruins in the standings because of those games. But, is it worth, putting prospects and assets on the line for a season that may already be lost based on, what some people might want to argue? So I guess from your vantage point, do you think that looking at maybe a deal to add to this team is something that Lamoriello would look at this point? Or do you think maybe he kind of waits and sees just to see where they're at once they finally get back on the ice?
Yeah, I think he's going to wait and see. And, a couple of reasons why, guys. You look at his past history, that's certainly been it. Don't mortgage the future for the present, right? He's never been that type of guy. And the fact that if you look at the runs they've had the last 2 years, obviously being knocked out by Tampa in the semis each of the last 2 seasons, they never were a dominating team in the regular season. I mean, they basically snuck into the playoffs both years, barely getting in, but they are a team that's built for the postseason. So they've proved that each of the last 2 years, that's their best hockey when you get to Stanley Cup playoff time. And, I think Lou wants a chance to see what they can do if they can get everybody back and everybody healthy. And, I've had a lot of time to crunch the numbers over these breaks, and they've actually only played 5 games, guys. 5 games all year where they've had what I'd call their top 20 guys dressed at the same time. So, at the beginning of the year, it was Semyon Varlamov who didn't dress the first 6 games. Then he came back in. They finally got that top 20 together. And then Ryan Pulock goes out, and he hasn't been back since mid-November. So I think you want to have a look at what, a healthy group can do if you get everybody back off COVID, which it appears everybody is. And now Ryan Pulock's still the lone guy out. He's skating on his own, but not with the team yet. Is there a chance he plays Thursday? Hopefully, yes. And then you're back to that, quote-unquote top 20 guys dressing. And, give them a chance to show what they can do. They actually did have a good run early on in the year. People forget it. They had points in straight games. At one point, they were on a 5-0-2 run before they just collapsed at the end of that road trip, which led into, the COVID and injury situations and the disastrous start to the home schedule. And they're still trying to claw their way back. So right now, to me, that first step is always get to NHL 500. You can't do anything until you at least get there. And right now, they're 2 games below that. So you get back to, what I call level ground and then try to start the climb. So if they can win a couple here in a row and, make it a 3-game winning streak, a 4-game winning streak for the first time all year, now you're at NHL 500 and now you move forward. But you got to get back to that level point.
Yeah, for sure. And it really was a series of unfortunate events to start the year. And hopefully they can turn things around a little bit. Now, I did want to switch gears a little bit. Even with the cancellations, maybe you've been in the building a little less than you would have expected to by now, but you've had an opportunity to kind of settle into your new digs at UBS Arena. And I was just curious if maybe you can share with us what the experience has been from a broadcasting point of view for you in the new arena for the Islanders.
Yeah, from a broadcasting point of view, the thing I like best, Sean, is that, this is the first time ever, you guys have seen the setup up there, that we've actually had our own booth, our own radio booth, which is pretty standard around the National Hockey League. But our setup at the Coliseum, we were kind of in press row there with, reporters on each side of us and above us, and really crammed in there. It was a great view, but we were really crammed in tight. Didn't have much real estate, and were kind of surrounded by, other people working on press row, which was fine, but you didn't have that privacy that we now have in the booth. And at Barclays Center, it was essentially a card table at the top of Section 9. So, I mean, it literally was a card table. That's what it was, because that building didn't have a press box. They didn't think they were going to have a hockey tenant, right? So that was, surrounded by fans. So we've either been in the past surrounded by kind of reporters at the Coliseum, surrounded by fans at Barclays, and just to have our own booth and spread out a little bit has really been nice. And, to have a place that you kind of feel like that's your own. So, it's getting homier and homier as we go, but it's just nice to have that room to ourselves and kind of just that privacy that we're cut off, as are, all the other radio booths and the TV booths. And they've done such a great job up there that I just love, finally having a radio booth we can call our own, if you will. That's my favorite part of the location we have at UBS Arena.
Right on. And just as a quick follow-up, do you have maybe a favorite feature of the building, even maybe from a fans or a supporters, a guest point of view, just with all the amenities that they have now and, again, getting to see the building the way it is? Do you have anything that's kind of stood out to you, maybe from what a fan might appreciate?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Sean, because my daughter actually went to a concert there early on. She went to the Harry Styles concert. She's a big music person, and she loved that. But you know what? There's so much to see that if you only have one event to go to, it's almost impossible, I would say, to see it all, right? Because the Coliseum, you had one concourse, you kind of make your loop and you're done, right? Well, here you got the main concourse, you got the upper concourse, you got the suite level, there's so much going on. So I kind of put together like a top 5 things to see at UBS with my daughter. I sent her out the text, and I'll tell you what was on it, because these are the things that jump out to me. The 2 outdoor terraces, those to me are just spectacular, that you can get outside, and they're on different levels. And that second level one kind of gives you a view of the main entrance. The lower level one is kind of a different view too, over by the racetrack. But I love those outdoor terraces. So those were 2 things that were on my list. One of the other things I told her about was the whole area that they call the tailgate bar down there, where, again, fans can gather and meet. And you got Paul Cartier there on his organ during Islander games, and Haley from the in-house presentation crew is there as well with her desk and her setup. And I just love that gathering space where you can still watch the game and everybody can kind of meet and hang out there. I'm trying to think of what else I had on the list. Oh, yeah, a little area kind of on the opposite side of the tailgate bar. It's on the upper level concourse, but they have kind of famous quotes from all these not only athletes, but musicians as well. I'm a big music guy. So it's kind of all New York born and bred, athletes and musicians and famous quotes from them. And that's just a really nice area to take a look at. And then the other thing that really struck me, guys, as many photos as there is of Islander players and great Islander history, there might be more pictures of Islander fans in that building than there are of players. And that's a great thing, because it's made for the fans. And, there's so many great shots of fans. That season ticket wall, the season ticket holders roll their names, which is surrounded by fan photos. They just did a really nice job of, letting the fans know, hey, you're a bigger part of this as the players are. And I'd say those are, then that was the kind of my top 5 list that I sent to my daughter when she was going to his show. And I've since, passed it along to my brother, who went to his first game too.
Talking with Chris King, the radio voice of the New York Islanders, here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tie Technology. And Kinger, getting back to the product on the ice, I am curious now that we're kind of hitting. I guess I want to call it like the second half of the season, but really it's not even.
We may never get there.
Third.
So coming out of this wackiness, looking at the players that are going to be on the ice Thursday or potentially Saturday if Thursday doesn't happen, and kind of going forward, Kinger, in your eyes, who is the most important player that needs to kind of have a successful run here for the Islanders to be to make that climb that you were talking about?
I guess it starts with Ryan Pulock, right? He's got to be healthy. Mm-hmm. He's still, to me, their best 2-way defenseman. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's the biggest key, right? You got to get him back. You got to get him healthy. He's usually, here, Adam Pelech are the ice time leaders for the Islanders almost each and every night. So I would start with him. And, up front, I would say you've got to get these veteran forwards going. To be, 28 games in and have Josh Bailey with 1 goal, Zach Parise with 1 goal, Kyle Palmieri with 1 goal. It can't work that way. So those guys, are going to start feeling what Barry Trotz likes to call backside pressure, right? The young players who've really stepped up their games. And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing to watch for when the puck finally does drop is, does Kiefer Bellows stay in the lineup? Because he deserves to. There's absolutely no question with the way he's played of late, he deserves to stay. And if so, is Kyle Palmieri the guy who's out? Is Zach Parise the guy who's out? Even though Josh Bailey only has 1 goal, he's certainly, piled up the assists and is a mainstay on those top 2 lines. So I don't think it would be him that would come out. But does Barry Trotz say, hey, look, I'm not going to take Kiefer out. We finally got him going the way we'd like to. And, maybe that puts other guys on the bench for the first time in Parise or Palmieri, whose offensive production just hasn't been there. So to me, they need to get more out of the veterans that way. They need to get a healthy Ryan Pulock. And, the goaltending, I think, has been the bright spot of late. Certainly, Ilya Sorokin, I think, was the MVP. You could make a case he might still be of the season at this point, and the run he went on playing those first 9 games and had, 3 shutouts, I think, in a 5-game span. But then suddenly Semyon Varlamov, I know it's been forever now that he's made those last 2 starts, but he only allowed 1 goal against, I think, in each of his last 2 starts, and he was, less than a minute away from a shutout in that first win of him on first win he had all season. So that's kind of where I view the group. I think, the real thing to watch is Kiefer Bellows. Can he keep himself in the lineup? His play says he should. But, the Islanders kind of have a history of saying, sometimes that young players have to wait their turn. But I think now is the time that, in the predicament they're in, you have to stay with a hot player, even though everybody's going to cool off with 11 days off. But just you finally get him skating. He's using that great shot. And, he's been one of the hotter players of late for New York.
Absolutely. I'm with you there, especially on Bellows. I think he's been such a bright spot. And I know he's been a guy that Shawnee and I honestly have kind of, at the beginning of the year, kind of counted out. And you look at what he's been able to do with his opportunities he's gotten as of late. And it's been something to watch. But I did want to ask you, Kinger, about the veterans that you talked about at the top of that answer, the Baileys, the Palmieris, and the Parisis. Now, Zach Parise, I kind of feel like if you ask a Minnesota Wild fan, they go, yeah, this is pretty much what Parise did all last season or the later part of his time there. But for Bailey and for Palmieri, what do you kind of make of their lack of offensive production during this season, especially Palmieri, who was really counted on to kind of fill that void that Jordan Eberle leaves?
Yeah, I think in the case of Bailey early on, Christian, and it's changed a little bit of late. He just wasn't shooting. I think at one point, I think we were 17 games in, and he had 10 shots on goal total. I think that was his total, which is crazy, right? 17 games in, we always know he's always been pass first, and he sees the ice so well, and he's so smart. But, averaging, like a half a shot per game, that was crazy. He's picked that up since, and, he has been getting a chance to play on the top line of late. So we'll see about him. Palmieri's been the head scratcher because, he earned himself the big contract based on the way he played in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And let's remember, when he came over in the trade from the Devils, I think he had 2 goals in 17 games to close out the regular season. But then, caught fire immediately at the overtime winner. It was right in game 1 in Pittsburgh, that afternoon game, and got himself rolling and finished with 7 goals in the playoffs, which tied for the team lead. And that's what earned him the 4-year, $20 million deal. But to have just 1 goal at this point, I think, right now, if everybody's healthy come Thursday night, Kyle Palmieri is the guy who's going to be out and Kiefer Bellows is going to stay in. So I don't know what it is about Palmieri that, he hasn't been able to score. Even when Parise wasn't scoring, he was, making things happen. He was getting those scoring chances. He was hitting the post, the crossbar. He had breakaways. You felt it was coming.
Right.
Exactly. I haven't had that feeling yet with Kyle. I just haven't.
Well, Chris, great stuff as always, and we've added a relatively new part of the On the Line segment here with our guests called the Random Question. I don't believe we've done it with you yet, but you said you were a music man yourself, so I figured give you a little bit of a layup question here. now that we've learned that you are a music guy, so what would you say is the best concert you have ever attended?
Oh my goodness! See that's impossible. So you gotta understand. I'll give folks a little bit of background. I say I'm a music guy. I worked part-time as a DJ at a classic rock station, WRCN, for 8.5 years.
Okay.
And I went to an alternative station, a legendary alternative station, WLIR, for 6.5 years. So for 15 years, I basically got, either free tickets or a press pass to almost every concert I ever wanted to go to.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I'd have to, it's hard to pick one off the top of my head. But just, Springsteen being Springsteen, I've probably seen him a dozen times and never disappointed. So I think the fact that the guy, is still doing 3 and 4 hour shows in his 70s now and in the heyday, I've seen him so many places, so many great shows at the Coliseum, over in Jersey, the old Giants Stadium, the old Brendan Byrne Arena. So just I think because of what he's meant to, rock history and live rock, I guess I'd put one of those Bruce shows up there, but it's really impossible to pick one. I've seen so many great classic rock shows and alternative rock shows just because of the access I got from working at those great radio stations.
That's fair. Well, would you also consider him your favorite artist?
I would put him up there.
Okay.
It's funny. I kind of do have a standard 4 that I lean on.
Another list. Let's go.
I'll give you the 4, and they all kind of fall more in the alternative, and then I'll go to the classic rock side. So this is interesting, but I have stayed with my big 4. My big 4 are U2.
Nice.
Okay. The Police.
Okay.
Peter Gabriel.
Nice.
And REM.
All solid.
All right, so that's my big 4, but that's all kind of on the alternative side. Now, if we go to the classic rock side, Springsteen, Petty, the Beatles, The Who, Queen, Billy Joel, I'll put in there. I love Billy Joel, seen him a ton of times on Long Island. The Beatles, just the best ever, and that incredible documentary I just got through. The 8-hour documentary was phenomenal. And I'd say that's probably 6 or 7 of classic rock. So if you put those 6 with the other 4, there's your top 10 rock acts or music acts from me. But you can't lose with any of those.
That is a solid list, Kinger.
Yes.
And I think we would have had to revoke your Long Island credentials if you didn't have Billy Joel on one of those lists.
I forgot to put Billy Joel. My daughter recently asked me this question, like, who's your top 10, Dad? And I left him out. And then she's like, not Billy Joel. Of course, Billy Joel. And I've seen him so many times at the Coliseum, guys. And he always puts on a great show, too. So, yeah, don't want to leave the Piano Man out. Absolutely.
Chris King, the radio voice of the New York Islanders. Hopefully we'll hear you on Thursday, calling Thursday's game from UBS Arena, from your perch up there in the press area. Kinger, we always appreciate when you make some time for us.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun, and we always learn a lot. And now we know your top music list, too. And
there you go. All right, thanks, Christian. Thanks, Sean, for having me. Have a good night, guys.
Absolutely.
You too, Kinger.
Thanks so much, Chris. Take care.
The great
Bye-bye.
Chris King from the New York Islanders, the radio voice of the New York Islanders there, giving us a lot of great stuff to think about. And
yes, always fantastic.
I mean, you got a top 5 list for things to go see at UBS Arena. You got a top 15 list of Kinger's musical choices that he has on his
a lot of solid
his top,
choices.
Yeah, no, there was nothing wrong on either of those lists.
Yeah, nothing wrong. Maybe some I wouldn't so much agree with, but sure, nothing wrong.
The REM.
Actually, I'm okay with REM. I'm actually not a big Bruce guy at all.
That makes 2 of us.
I'm not a big Bruce
I mean,
guy.
I like
to each their own, but I
he's
never
fine.
really
I've
dug his
never,
stuff.
yeah. You know what? It's like apparently Bruce Springsteen is one of those, like, you have to go see it live. Like I haven't. There are people that are like, you're not gonna get it if you don't see it live.
Yeah.
I'm like,
not a big Tom Petty guy either.
Oh, I like Tom Petty.
But this is gonna sound sacrilege to any Bruce Springsteen fan out there. But to me, and granted, I've haven't heard
you're
nearly
not a Bruce Springsteen fan,
nearly
so.
as large as his discography is.
Yeah.
His catalog is. But I always joke around and say his best song is his rendition of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I think that's my favorite Bruce song. He does a good job. But yeah, I don't really care for the rest.
It's a good song. I actually that's one of my more
just lost like 100 subscribers.
That's one of my more favorite Christmas tunes, the Bruce Springsteen version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's good. I think that was recorded live at I want to say Asbury Park.
I mean, it's definitely live.
No, I know.
He's speaking to a crowd when he's doing it.
It's one of those like well-known Jersey town, like Jersey Shore towns. It was Asbury Park, or I want to say it wasn't AC. It was one of those shore towns, though.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
you better watch out.
Yeah.
You better not cry. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. I don't agree with Sean on Tom Petty, but we agree on Bruce.
I respect both of those guys, but I just never really got in. I like a couple of Petty songs, but overall, not a little boring for me. A little boring, a little quiet. Just being honest. I'm a metal dude.
No. So Sean and I listen to music before the start of the show, usually when we're preparing or setting stuff up. And I think there was one time I did put a Tom Petty on, Petty song, and Sean audibly groaned. He gave me a look like,
really?
Like I kicked your dog.
Yeah, I did. That's true. That's a true story. But we move on. Islander hockey.
Great stuff from Kinger as always. Appreciate you coming. It was funny. So you were just rolling with questions today. I didn't want to interrupt, but
you had the first half. I kind of came in the middle.
I had 2, and then you just rolled through with like 10 in a row.
It happens sometimes, man.
But he mentioned their old setup in the press box at Nassau Coliseum because they were kind of shoehorned in next to all the print and digital reporters. Mm-hmm. And so there would be times I'd end up sitting above Kinger, especially during the playoffs or something like that, when it was a very full press box. You were putting people everywhere.
Yeah, I remember.
And
one of
the thing that always made me nervous every time they would put me up there is I would be terrified I'd knock something over onto Kinger's head or onto Greg Picker's head, who Greg is the color analyst on the Islanders radio broadcast. And for anyone who doesn't know,
everybody knows that.
But that was always, I would always like be super careful. I'd pick something up and I go,
yeah.
All right, I'm just going to put that right there. And then I'm going to move away from that. Because I was like so afraid I was going to be like, and just knock it. It's empty. That's why I did that.
He just knocked a water bottle onto my keyboard. I'm glad the show's still running.
It's empty.
Yes,
it's empty.
It is. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
But I was going to tell that to Kinger, and then you kind of just rolled over.
Oh, I stole your thunder, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Next time, huh?
No, it's
next
over.
time.
The moment's gone.
Oh, man. What a shame.
Gone.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway. I have to agree with Mel, though. You did sound that was a pretty good Bruce Springsteen impression before.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate it. And it's all in jest.
I really hate the guy, but I can do a hell of a Bruce Springsteen.
All right. Reeling it
Can
back
you just
in.
do the rest of the show in Bruce Springsteen voice?
I mean, I can't do it on demand now, but maybe down the road, Maybe next holiday episode, I'll just do a Santa Claus is Coming to Town Bruce Springsteen hosting job. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We'll see.
I'd sign up for that.
I mean, we're all about having fun here,
I'd
so
sign up for
maybe
that.
we'll juice it up. Yeah.
But the Islanders, they're a hockey team.
Please.
They don't play hockey, but they're a hockey team.
Right, they used to. They used to.
Yeah, they used to play hockey. I think they retired or something.
Right. So they might have. They may not play another game. So
they opened up UBS Arena. The team has actually decided to retire as a whole.
I mean, it's been that kind of season. I mean, they had to wait 13 games, and then they finally open it up. Everybody's sick on COVID protocol. It's just been one disaster after the next.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So we started talking about Brock and Palmieri and Wahlstrom coming back, and I'm glad that King touched on the whole dynamic of keeping Bellows in the lineup and whether or not Palmieri's going to. Why are you giggling?
You call him King?
Kinger?
Kinger.
Yeah, that's
you said King. I'm glad King, bro. It just sounded funny.
It's his last name.
I know, but I've never just call him Yo King. It's Kinger. It just sounds weird.
Sorry. Apologies to Chris King if you're still watching. He's not.
If he ever started
He's
watching.
not. Yeah, right. So anyway, talking about that whole dynamic with Bellows, is he going to stay in and is Palmieri going to get back in the lineup when he comes back? And I think I actually saw somebody ask, after Kinger was explaining how Palmieri should stay, Bellows should stay in and maybe Palmieri should sit when he comes back. And I saw the question, is Barry really going to keep Palmieri out of the lineup when the games come back? And it's a fair question. And we talked about this last week too. The NHL coaches at large kind of having a penchant for going with veterans.
Yeah.
But you know what? If there's nobody else that's hurt or sick, I kind of have to agree with the people who are fans of the youth right now, in the sense that you give Bellows and Wahlstrom a little bit of a chance here once they do come back, and maybe you let Palmieri watch from the press box for a couple games. I'm okay with that. I think that's how they should start it off. Whether or not Barry Trotz goes that route, we shall see.
Right.
But I think
we don't have that kind of pull.
No, we don't. But at this point in time, I think that's a fair way to look at it, and I think it's a good way to reward those guys.
I agree. I mean, listen, Palmieri's not doing much for you. I know Trotz usually talks about the intangibles or this or that or whatever. I just don't see that this year. Even you look at a player like Zach Parise. Yeah, he's a great locker room guy, I'm sure, but even that's kind of gone by the wayside. So to put someone like a Palmieri back into the lineup and take out a Bellows or someone else that's made an impact during the stretch where the team hasn't been playing, or they had to play through COVID. Message. I don't even know if it doesn't send a great message, but I think it just I think it just sends the wrong message, actually. Sorry, my thought was my mouth got ahead of my thought, but yeah, I agree with you. It sends the wrong message to the team. I think it sends the wrong message to those guys, and I think it sends the wrong message, honestly, to a player like Palmieri, where it says like, hey, look, you cannot play up to your potential or what you should be doing. We're just going to keep you in the lineup. So what's the incentive for them to try and put that best foot forward, so to speak? I mean, you never want to think that a player needs that sort of incentive to be like, hey, like, oh, I might lose my job, but
yeah,
but I think it sends the wrong message to reward him for the lack of play and not reward someone who's played up above and beyond where we ever imagined him playing this season, and the contributions that he's had and the way that he's playing, the energy that it brings to the lineup, and his ability to kind of what I like about Bellows' game is that he has that offensive upside for sure. But I think you've seen him get a lot better in the neutral zone, in his own zone, the physicality that he plays with. He's a much more physical player, it seems like, at times. But there's that comfortability in his game where he can go from that kind of, I need to throw my body around a little, to, I need to create an offensive opportunity. And I think that's something that really is valued, especially for a team like the Islanders.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I guess the only counter argument to that, and I think it's a weak one at that, is that, if you're going to be worrying, if you're still thinking about getting into the playoffs, if you still want to grab that wild card, you're not really worried about what message you're sending, right? It's more about gaining those points, getting wins, putting the players on the ice who you think is going to give you the best chance to win. But even with that said, is Kyle Palmieri even that guy right now?
Right, he's not.
Yeah.
He's absolutely not.
Right. Okay. We agree. Look at that.
Yeah.
What do you say we go into
this?
I know. I was a little surprised that you were also on the off the Springsteen bandwagon along with me. Yeah, I don't get it. All right, so what do you think? A little what's on tap?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And now it's time for What's on Tap. Maybe brought to you by RJ
Perhaps.
Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. It is time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill. So, Christian, we literally had nothing on tap last week.
Right.
And you kind of started talking about this stuff early in the show. You basically blew the whole segment already. But what do we have on tap for this week?
Well, the New York Islanders, they play the New Jersey Devils. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're also a hockey team.
Yes.
They may play them. There's a big question mark now, considering the situation that's going on with the Devils. They have 7 players in COVID protocol. That their game against the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow was postponed. We'll see what happens on Thursday. Hopefully, you see some players come out of protocol. Perhaps no one else new goes in that they're able to play by Thursday. It's a big question mark right now, and that would be as Kinger was saying before, it'd be a really unfortunate circumstance because then you just continue to kind of push back that itch to finally get back onto the ice for the Islanders, right?
Yeah.
You missed that first opportunity to get them back in game shape, and New Jersey in the current state that they're in, that's not a bad team when you look at it. I understand it's NHL hockey. Any team can beat any team any night. Blah 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 blah. Whatever they
well said.
Whatever they always say, because you got to say it, right? But that's not a bad game to start your first game back after a week and a half.
Agreed.
Compared to playing the Caps the first night back or the Philadelphia Flyers the first night back.
And Mackenzie Blackwood's been struggling of late, so might be a good game to get back.
So that's why too. Like on the other surface, I hit the microphone. Sorry, everybody. On the other level of that whole thought too, not just because it would be a shame that people really want to see NHL hockey, and it's been a week and a half, and I'm sure people are crawling up the wall to see the Islanders play.
Mm-hmm.
And the players, I'm sure, are crawling up a wall to actually play a game.
Yeah.
But it also is a good ease you back into the things kind of game.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Not a bad way. But also the Washington Capitals, they're playing the New York Islanders on Saturday at the UBS at 2:00.
Yes.
Another tough divisional matchup right there. That'll be an interesting one for the Islanders. I think with a healthier lineup.
Opponent.
Yes, it's a tougher opponent. Hopefully there's no COVID issues. Hopefully, maybe you're looking at Ryan Pulock coming back or getting closer to coming back at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like he's a little further away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a good test to see where the Islanders are after that, after all this time, see where they really kind of are in the grand scheme of the season, because these are important games now.
Yeah.
And then Philadelphia is always a tough out for the Islanders, regardless of how good or bad they are.
Yeah.
And they're very bad this year.
Yeah.
That's always a game that's tough for the Islanders regardless. So that'll be an interesting matchup when they play them back to back.
Well, at least they're all home games.
The second game is not.
Against Caps? That's in Washington?
Yes. Game against Washington. Islanders are off the next day. They play the Philadelphia Flyers that Monday.
Oh, the following game against the Flyers. Yes.
And now I'm getting a little ahead because that's actually what's next week's.
Right. You're already killing next week's questions, Bruin. Jeez, man. RJ's going to pull the plug.
Well, you just mixed up the two segments.
I said questions, Bruin.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I meant what's on tap.
Did you, though?
Good night, everybody.
And that's what's on tap.
Essentially.
That was What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
And just
I
to...
was just so excited to talk about actual hockey games.
No, I know, man. Jumping at the bit
Yeah.
here. But and
Good
also
Lord.
just to reiterate from earlier on in the show, last week we did talk about that we were hopefully gonna have a viewing party at Oyster Bay Brewery for the Maple Leafs game on the 22nd. But again, now that has been switched to a home game, that will no longer be happening in Oyster Bay Brewing Company. However, we will be trying to get a viewing party there down the line. And of course, keep your ears peeled for the next one at RJ Daniels. Still working on that as well.
Because if you need great planials, you go to RJ Daniels.
That's where you go. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that. That's a T-shirt now.
It's a T-shirt.
That's a T-shirt now. Need great planials.
Mike thought you were so clever. He's not.
Huh?
You.
What?
That you're so clever, he put that on the T-shirt.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't come up with it. That was on Mike, actually. That line was Mike O.B.
Was it really?
Great plan. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a tremendous line. Tremendous line.
Funny how you change your opinion there.
Yeah, because you suck.
Wow, nice. Very nice, Christian. Always a pleasure to do the show with you. So, moving on now, let's talk about, well, we could do that in Questions Brewing, actually. We have a potential trade that people have been talking about, and I think it was even raised in the chat here. I think we'll save that for Questions Brewing. I think somebody was actually asking about it, and I want to tie that into Evander Kane. Let's talk about Evander Kane. He has been placed on waivers for contract termination. I think did they terminate the contract? Is he officially? He's gone.
And then the NHL, the Players Association is immediately going to. He hasn't been terminated yet, but as soon as it is, they're going to file a grievance with the league.
Okay, so I already have a very strong opinion about this, but Christian, is it even worth the New York Islanders? Okay,
well, so it's not worth it on several levels because
Good.
I mean,
I agree.
It would be chaos. I understand anyone who looks at it and goes, "Yeah, he's an offensive player, this and that." On paper, yeah, he sounds like a decent offensive pickup for the Islanders. Could solve some scoring issues that they've had. As far as an organizational fit, I mean, I think that would be what Mike O'Brien just said in the chat. Avoid that at all costs.
In all caps.
In all caps.
Yeah.
You say that in all caps. Yeah. In reality. Because it's not a great. A lot of off the ice issues, whether they're true, whether they're not true.
Right.
There's a lot of off the ice issues and a lot of off ice baggage that comes along with it. Of course, the Islanders' stance with COVID and vaccinations and how they expect everyone within the organization to maintain themselves and conduct themselves is very well known. And Evander Kane has very obviously not done that with his organization out in San Jose.
Right. And knowing Lou Lamoriello's reputation, I don't think he would touch Evander Kane with football with all the history there. I mean, I don't even think it's a starter. I don't know how many people in Islander country are even, looking into this and saying, hey, this is a guy that should give a shot. But, if you are, give up the dream.
Maybe you need to rethink.
Yeah, I would definitely rethink that. And funny enough, T-Boyle13 says Arizona might take him. They would literally take anybody.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Arizona can't even get their own arena built, let alone. I mean, that whole organization from top to bottom is so poorly run, from ownership on down. I mean, the number of scandals that team has had between the conduct of the people that they hired to the fact that they weren't even paying their bills to the state and to the county or the municipality.
They did do one big payment recently, though. They paid off the taxes or whatever it was, but
that way they didn't get locked out of the building.
That would have been bad. Yeah,
that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, look, I've said it on the show before. I think that franchise is bound for Houston. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it just sounds like it keeps getting worse.
Toyota Center used to host the Houston What was it?
Arrows?
Arrows with the AHL club when Mike Yeo was there. Mike Yeo coached there before he went to Minnesota.
Is that an NHL-sized building? Because I know I think they have one already. They just want a team. They want an NHL team. They've been making pitches to the league for years.
They have an NBA franchise, which that building was.
Oh yeah, the Sprockets,
the Houston Rockets.
Yes, that's right. So they could share that building.
Yeah, which I mean, it's a nice building. It would fit all the earmarks that the NHL would want.
Fair point, Thomas Panic. But it's nice to be on the other side of that situation for once. But yes, well, I'm not trying to pile on the Coyotes here. We're just basically speaking truth here. This is the situation. Yeah. And
they're a poorly run franchise that should be.
And moved. when people were saying, "Oh, the Islanders are going to Quebec" and all that, you know what? They had basically some reasons to say that back then. And by a million miracles, that hasn't happened. The Islanders are in UBS now, thankfully. But yeah, the Arizona Coyotes situation is not looking good.
And now Islander fans can be the ones that can go, yeah, that team should move to Quebec.
Yeah, it's funny how things turn around, right?
Listen, I am very sympathetic to
what's
going on in Arizona. I don't
wish that on Arizona fans. Absolutely not. I hope they keep the team. I wouldn't wish that on anybody because we Islander fans went through that. I wouldn't wish that on a fan base, but the optics right now make it look like it's only a matter of time before they go somewhere.
Yeah, that's. I love non-traditional markets. I am someone who loves that there are teams in Florida and Texas and California and basically anywhere that isn't considered a hockey market. I think that's the
whole point. Spread the sport.
And I love it more because there are so many people north of the border that hate it and think that all the teams should be they should be playing on frozen ponds.
Up in Canada.
And so I really love it when you have teams like Dallas, which is super successful. Tampa Bay, super successful.
Carolina's got a great team.
Carolina now, really successful. Vegas, super effing successful. And I love every second of it. And I love the fact that Arizona stayed. I love that Jim Balsillie and his ridiculous attempt to try and hijack the team and move it to Hamilton or
that was something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad that never happened.
Like the BlackBerry guy, right?
Yeah.
BlackBerry or
no one,
like
and look how well that would have worked. No one uses a gosh darn BlackBerry anymore, you loser. And so I'm really pulling for the Arizona Coyotes to figure this out.
Of course.
I would love to see them
Just
figure it out.
doesn't look good.
I would love, and the other thing, I've said it to you before, Sean, I never understood why the sport wasn't more popular down there. I mean, there is such an abundance of people there, a very diverse mix of people, might I add. Also, you have the Arizona State right there. So if you're an NHL player, I don't know why you wouldn't want to live in a town like in a college town. I don't know. Maybe your management would love that.
There's just so many signs pointing to
moving.
Yeah, because not only are they having this arena problem, which is the biggest one of all, but they're not fielding an NHL quality team, and they're not being shy about the moves that they're making to just make the floor. Hello, Andrew Ladd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Andrew Ladd, who has more goals than Kyle Palmer.
Let's not go there, okay? Like, we're just talking about the Coyotes right now, right? You don't have to bring that up. But anyway,
bring back Andrew Ladd is what we're saying.
Yes. The campaign starts now.
We're actually starting Hockey Night in New York is now officially on the Bring Back Andrew Ladd train. Every week we're going to remind you to send notes and emails and letters to Lou Lamorello. That's 2020 UBS Way.
That's not a real address.
I know. Why would I give out a real address?
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
I
haven't signed off on this, but I'm glad you're having fun, Christian.
Yeah, I love it.
So
bring back Andrew Ladd.
We wish the fans in Arizona the best, but it's not looking good.
Not looking good.
So why don't we go to Hero of the Week?
Which is looking better.
It's looking a little better.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY and your favorite podcast providers. Later on, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Hero of the Week.
Customer service is the backbone of any reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Thai Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Thai Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another country. You'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Thai Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at thaitechnology.com. That's Thai, T-I-E technology.com. Thai Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero, which this week is the Hockey Night in New York, featuring grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, and avocado in a wrap. Get it for half price all week starting tomorrow. That is Monday through next week, where we'll announce the brand new half-off hero. Stop on in, mention Hockey Night in New York for half off the Hockey Night in New York. And just for anybody who might be curious, as of right now, that is only for the Huntington location.
Yes.
That is not for UBS Arena. They don't even sell it there. And it's also not for the East Islip location, just Huntington, just in case. We don't want you driving out to East Islip only to get disappointed that you can't get the best wrap on the menu for half off. So, Christian, who is your hero of the week?
Well,
with no games being played.
My hero of the week is myself, honestly. I deserve it.
Man, I should have seen that one coming.
No, it's actually a gentleman by the name of Lane Lambert.
Yeah.
For filling in. That's
there
a nice picture.
Look at him, huh?
For filling in, doing a very great job, by the way, for Barry Trotz in his absence during, while Trotz traveled home and, dealt with his personal matter. Islanders were still practicing. Lane Lambert ran the practice, getting more eyes on him for his future potential NHL head coaching gig somewhere. So everyone wins.
Yeah, well, I don't like that part because I would like him to stick with Barry as long as Barry's here. And when are we getting news on the new contract? When are we getting the new contract extension? When's that happening?
That's a great question.
Right?
I'm curious to see what plays out with that, right? Like, I think everyone's in agreement Barry Trotz should stay.
Most everyone.
Yes,
there's like one person in this chat that I think has said they want him to go, but other than that, I think everybody else is on board.
Right. I'm curious to see how much longer Barry Trotz still wants to coach, and I'm curious to see what the evaluation process from ownership would be on how it's all worked out under the Barry Trotz tenure, and whether they think that a new sense of direction would be needed to try and get over that hump. I'm not saying I'm agreeing with this, but I'm saying I think there's certainly a curiosity because it's something that we haven't heard about. I mean, I know
there may be a think tank considering this, perhaps a meeting.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
you know, people talk.
Sure,
a couple coffees are served. That kind of thing.
Sure. Okay, all right. I disagree. I think as long as Barry still wants to coach this team, John Ledecky will write the check, or Scott Malkin, whoever signs them. I'm not sure who
Maybe
that
they
is.
both sign.
It's probably Scott. But either way, I think Barry's got to. You can stay as long as you want. I mean, that's obviously how I feel. I haven't been shy about that ever since he came to this franchise, and may he stay for a very long time. But I would like to see an extension at some point. You know, that'd be nice. And I guess I might as well, you know, give my hero of the week because that's what the segment's all about.
Yeah.
And look at that. It's Lane Lambert, too. Yeah, as you guys know, no games this past week, so it was a little tough.
We get creative.
Yeah, we try. You know, we
Sean
try.
had to try really hard to stop me from putting myself because we were this close to doing that.
You might have been. I was never close.
It was going to happen.
That wasn't going to. I mean, maybe on your end, but I certainly wasn't going to pick you. But Lambert, there you go. Nice. But anyway, I love it. The chat is great. That's my favorite part.
That should have been what you wrote in on the photo.
That's true. I should have missed opportunity. Maybe when we post it on social media.
Lane Burton and Knobson.
Knobson, pretty good stuff. So there you have it. Oh
no, I was gonna say you really enjoy the accidental nicknames that we give these guys because you really know who listens to the show and who doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
Because Richard Panik had a very impressive game. He had a goal the other night.
Yeah,
for
you
Bridgeport.
tweeted about it. It's nice that you're still covering Bridgeport, even though you're a Nets guy now.
And so I tweeted out, big night for Thomas Panik.
Yeah.
And naturally, you had like 30 people who clearly don't listen to the show.
Was it 30?
It was like 3. I wanted to make a point here.
Okay, keep going.
And like, did you mean Richard Panik? I know you're not covering the team anymore. And I said, you clearly don't listen to Hockey Night in New York.
Yeah, you outed him, huh?
Oh, I said it right. Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. You know what?
Couple of other
it's okay
other loyal
if everybody
listeners.
doesn't listen. I mean, Christian, it's their loss. It's their loss. But it's all right. But yes, Thomas Panik was a good one. Knobson, Lambert happened last week. That was a fun one. And I'm sure there's more to come. Because we like to trip over words here at Hockey Night in New York.
Whether we want to or not.
It's a favorite pastime
we do.
of the show.
We trip over our words a lot.
So there you have it, folks. Lane, I had to slow it down. Lane Lambert is your unanimous hero of the week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Half Price Hero. Once again, Hockey Night in New York.
Tremendous
Stop
sandwich.
on in to the Huntington location, mention the podcast, mention the show, and you will get 50% off a wonderful wrap. There you have it.
Fantastic wrap.
I mean, there's so many great adjectives you can attach to that wrap because it's all true. It's all true. All right.
So effing good.
Wow. There you have it. So let's see. Well,
although I really, I like the breakfast sandwich. Not the raw. Is it the raw brush?
What now?
The breakfast one that they have there.
I'm sure they have more than one breakfast
No,
sandwich.
but it's the one that's named after one of the personalities from 94.3 The Shark.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Orlando's like magical. I know. That's not it. I forget what it is. But yes, that actually is pretty good. Yes. I mean, you can't go wrong with a bacon, egg, and cheese, right?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
But I think there's more. It's more than just a bacon.
Yeah, they added some extras there.
It's a hearty meal. It's actually quite delicious.
Yeah, they do a great job.
That actually might be my favorite sandwich on the menu.
Wow. Okay, so you're a big breakfast guy.
I am a big breakfast guy.
I mean, they say it's the most important meal of the day.
And it is.
Yeah, I never eat it. I never do. That probably explains a lot. So anyway, before we get into questions brewing, there is some news in the NHL. Small news. It's actually going to be bigger news during the week if you care about this sort of thing. But the All-Star rosters are going to be announced this week on Thursday. You look like you're excited.
I could care less. No, I couldn't care less.
Yes, I was about to correct you.
I corrected myself.
Good job. Yeah, so if you care about the All-Star game, they're going to announce the rosters on Thursday. And I would say the front runner for the Islanders is probably Ilya Sorokin, maybe Matt Barzal. They'll only get one. If they
only get one.
Now, is that still a rule? Every team has to have one representative?
Yes.
Okay. So if the Islanders get a guy, it's probably going to be Sorokin, maybe Barzal.
I think it'll be Barzal.
Anybody else?
I think
though?
it'd be Barzal.
You think so?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends because I think they only send 2 goalies per team now. Well, because there's 4
Right,
teams.
right,
There's
right.
4 teams.
Yeah.
2 halves. That whole thing. I'm thinking it's going to be Sorokin. Well, there you go. We got a little friendly wager here. Barzal, Sorokin. Stay tuned for Thursday. We'll see.
Who's
who
right?
gets it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be me.
I don't know about that.
So yeah, I mean, how do you like the format that they've been using lately? The 3-on-3. And all
I
that?
like it. I listen. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I like it amps me up to watch the All-Star game. But like when I throw it on, like it's enjoyable. Like the first year they did it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And
It's different. Yeah, sure.
I watched it and it was like, oh, this is, it was more exciting and whatever. But the All-Star game has always kind of been, and this is across the board for every sport. NFL, the Pro Bowl sucks. So I don't even consider the Pro Bowl. But Major League Baseball All-Star game, NBA All-Star game, NHL All-Star game. I mean, like I know why they do them. The fun, entertaining parts of the night are the skills competitions.
I prefer the skills competition. I'm more interested in that than the actual.
Get rid of the actual game and just do the skills competition stuff. And I think that's all you need. You still, because like they do. I mean, everyone knows why they do it. It's a big money grab. It's a big, the corporate sponsors dish out tons,
and that's why they won't get rid of
millions
the
and
game.
millions of dollars. And
why have
this
one
and
event
that.
when you can have 2?
Right. I mean, even I covered
selling for top dollars, and it's coming to UBS. It's coming.
I covered, yes. I know the Fourth Period reported that a couple weeks ago that there were conversations whether it was an All-Star game or it might have been a draft, but it was in there. It was there. There's chatter about that coming to UBS.
Yeah, I mean
very soon.
Look, you open up a new building, then it's really a matter of time.
Yeah.
So that's gonna happen.
But I mean, I covered an NBA All-Star game when it was at Barclays Center and Madison Square Garden. They ended up doing the All-Star skills competition at the Barclays Center, and then they held the actual All-Star game at Madison Square Garden. And even that, I was like, I mean, the skills competition was so much fun. The All-Star game, I'm like,
is it just dunks and 3-pointers? I mean,
they do a 3-point shootout, slam dunk competition. I think there's something else. There's a couple other things, but
okay. Hook shots,
but it's kind of the same thing. Like the slam dunk competition is like the event of the night. The same way the shootout competition is the event of the night for the NHL.
Sure.
But those are fun. Those are things like I'll actually watch. I'm like, this is entertaining. Well, I never watch the All-Star game and go, wow, I'm really glad I watched this.
According to trusted Twitch chat source Mel Armenia 22 says last All-Star game Vegas didn't have anyone. I don't remember that, but maybe that isn't a rule anymore. Yeah. Maybe that's true. I don't know. She's probably right. She has no reason to lie. So maybe it's not
Unless
a shoe.
She's trying to make us look foolish.
Maybe it's not. Well, we do a good job on that on our own. So I don't think
no one needs.
We don't need anybody to help us out with that.
That's true.
But maybe it isn't a guarantee that Sorokin or any Islander gets in there. We'll see. That remains to be seen.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, do you think Sorokin would deserve to get in if there is no rule to get a representative from every team in there? Like, would he just
deserve to get in?
Like, are there any other goalies in the Metropolitan Division that should get in there over him?
I don't know. I mean, I see your point. Well, according to Donnie Bagels, he's the greatest goaltender in the world. So
that's right. That's right.
I don't know. I'm thinking who's in the Metro. Yeah, there's an argument to be made that Sorokin should be one of the 2 goaltenders for the Metropolitan team, no question.
Okay.
I'm on board with that. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I'm saying if the league ends up picking, every player, every team gets a representative, it's going to be Barzal. The Islanders are only getting 1.
We'll see. And speaking of goalies, Marc-Andre Fleury has become the first goalie in the league to beat all 32 teams.
Yes. It's quite the accomplishment for the...
Congratulations to the Flower.
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff. Well, Christian, what do you say we go to Questions Brewing?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company and the fabled Barn Rocker. Delicious. So, Christian, I hope you prepared some questions over the course of the night from our wonderful chatters here. What do you got for us? Questions Brewing.
Let's see here. First question brewing. From T. Boyle, question brewing. What do you see in Bridgeport making the team? Oh, who do you see in Bridgeport making the team next season for the Isles?
I don't know. Christian, do you want to take this one?
Oh, wow. I think it's a
is Holmstrom ready?
I wouldn't be confident in Holmstrom. Holmstrom, I think, would be the first guy that would probably be on my list of who's coming up.
I mean, and if not for the injuries, I mean, Salo would be the guy we're talking about,
Right.
I guess, right? I mean, he's technically not a Bridgeport Islander right now because he's been up with the team, but I mean, he would have been the front runner, I think, if all things were normal.
Right.
And he never got his shot up
Right.
here with all the injuries and whatnot.
But COVID has given him that opportunity
Yes.
early, and he's taken advantage of it. I'm trying to think here. Holmstrom would be on my list. Cole Bardreau, he's had a cup of coffee in the league. I don't know. He's everyone knows what he does. He's a guy that comes up. He's going to be someone that goes back down at some point.
I guess it depends if does Clutterbuck back? My goodness, does Clutterbuck come back next year? And even if he doesn't, Johnson probably takes that.
Yeah,
spot.
that's Ross Johnson's spot. Samuel Bulldog would be on that list. Mitch Van de Sopel, the two defensemen, the two young defensemen that the Islanders have back there. Parker Witherspoon would be someone to keep an eye on.
Those guys have been the team with the organization forever, man. I just feel like Witherspoon and Van de Sopel maybe just is, I don't know, is it past time for them to even have a chance?
You never know. I mean, what you also think about what the Islanders have, but the Islanders are going to have to fill some holes next year.
Because they've been with the team so long, and you just keep having guys that are supplanting them as the top defenseman that can make the team, or top defensive prospect, right? Whether it was Dobson coming in, Devon Taves coming in, and now Robin Salo, and even Sebastian Aho, even though they don't like him playing in actual Islander games. But but it just seems like I think those guys might be career minor leaguers. No, not to take anything away from them, but it just seems like that's the course they're on.
Thomas Panic wants to know, question, Bruin, who finishes with more goals this season, Knobson or top-line winger Josh Bailey?
I'm going to go with Knobson at this point.
I would too. I think Noah Dobson. Listen, I mean, we've talked about it at length. The fair criticisms that have been levied at Josh Bailey this season. He's gotten better. You've seen a lot more progress out of him in the last couple games that the Islanders have played. If you remember back in the day.
Yeah.
I know it's a long ways to think about since an Islander game has happened, but yes, back in the day, Josh Bailey started to look a little bit better as the team has looked a little bit better, and so he's making strides in the right direction. But I do think Noah Dobson, who's really started to heat up both offensively and in the defensive end, and he's kind of now finding that rhythm as the kind of puck moving transition defenseman that the Islanders have kind of needed him to be for the better part of the quarter, this first quarter of the season.
Yeah, no, it's great to see him blossom.
Noah Dobson, wow.
Yes.
Noah Dobson would be, I think, both John and I would take as the answer to your question. Thank you, as always, for chiming in, Thomas Panic. We love it. All right, hold on. Mike O'Brien, or I should say M. O'Brien 11195, has asked a couple questions here. One of them is a stupid one.
We'll let that. Okay, so go past that.
I am, but
that's not surprising.
Shawnee,
obviously, the play on the ice, is that the one? Yeah. No.
The one that I want to ask, or the one I don't want to ask?
Just go ahead.
How much wood would a woodchuck
chuck?
No.
Tricked me. No. The next one.
Oh, obviously the play on the ice has left a lot to be desired. But do you think the advance? Do you think the advance in play from a player like Noah Dobson has come from the influence of Zdeno Chara?
Certainly think he's had a hand in it. Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Zdeno Chara being brought over here, not only to bring a veteran presence and a leader's voice into the locker room, a guy who's won a cup and all that, but you saw through training camp that they were attached at the hip. They were paired up together. So there was obviously a method to that madness, and I would like to think that, Zdeno Chara has probably rubbed off on Noah Dobson in a positive way. Regardless of how you might think Chara is actually playing on the ice this season, I'm sure that he has definitely added an element or two to Noah Dobson where, he's been able to take that and improve his game.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, and that is the one unfortunate thing this year that you kind of lose some of that insight in with the COVID protocols and everything that's going on, where you can't be in the locker room and kind of get a firsthand sense of how that partnership, how that relationship is developing over the year, and how much really has gone into it. I would imagine Zdeno Chara definitely has helped him progress.
Yeah.
I I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree that it's as much as you're giving him credit for, to be honest.
What did I didn't say he taught him how to shoot
No,
or
no,
he taught
no.
him how to skate, but I feel like, for a young guy like him, and this ties into what I said, I believe, last week, was the
did a
mental
show last week?
The mental aspect of the game, the confidence aspect of the game, where even if he's not literally, showing him again how to, the actual physical stuff on the ice, but
he actually taught Noah Dobson how to skate.
You never
actually
know.
old enough to.
But I'm talking about it from the mental perspective, whether it's confidence or just even how to approach a play, that sort of thing. Like more on the strategical side of things, the confidence side of things, not so much literal physical attributes on the ice. And I think for sure that Zdeno Chara could have had a positive influence in that way.
I think he had a positive influence. I don't know. I'm not sold, I guess, that it's been as big as maybe we were or everyone was expecting. I don't know. I just don't get that sense, I guess.
Well, nobody here is saying that Zdeno Chara is responsible for Noah Dobson's outburst over the last 10 games.
But I'm answering the question.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on. Question brewing.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see here, Sean.
Well, you had a follow-up, right, about that trade that people were talking about?
Michael M. O'Brien 11195. Question brewing. Do you foresee a possible trade with Beauvillier, Aho, and a pick for
Chychrun? From the flailing Arizona Coyotes franchise?
Yes. That defenseman from Arizona.
And,
who's also
was
from
floating
Palm
around
Springs.
the Twitterverse, right? You had a lot of people talking about this potential trade. Apparently, Chychrun might be on the block because he's a guy who will demand money, and Arizona doesn't want to pay anybody.
And Arizona says,
right,
things are a little tight around here. These days.
Do I see it happening? I don't. Is it possible? Sure. I mean, and I think people were saying that Ratu would have to be involved in that too. And who knows if that's true or not, but it's a lot to give up. And it depends. I mean, he could definitely help. We've talked about how they need a puck-moving defenseman, offensive defenseman. He certainly fits that bill. He's very. I think he's only 23. He's a young guy.
Yeah, he's young.
So, I mean, he's basically, what the Islanders have given up over the last couple of years, due to their cap crunch and what, expansion drafts and stuff like that. I mean, it'd be nice to get a guy like him on their side, but I believe he's a right shot. He's a right defenseman, and they need a left defenseman. Now, is he a guy who can play the other side, or can somebody else play the other side with him? Yeah, sure, maybe, but he's not, because you already have Pulock, Dobson, and then Mayfield.
Right.
And Chychrun's not going to play your third D pair, right? And neither is Dobson, and neither is Pulock as this team continues to progress, right? So unless you're switching somebody to the other side, which isn't ideal, and which Barry Trotz has already said he doesn't like doing.
Right.
He does it out of necessity when he does it. So I'm not necessarily sold on it. Whether you want to argue if it's a deal that they should make or they could make, I mean, yeah, is it a possibility? Sure, but I don't know if I see that being a fit. As good as a defenseman as he is, and I certainly wouldn't argue against the guy being on the Islanders because he is a great player. I just don't know if that's somebody who I'd key in on. And I do just want to fact check that right side, though, if we can. I think he's a right-handed defenseman. Otherwise, I don't want to look like a complete fool if it turns out that he's a lefty. But either way, if that's the case, I'm not so sure that that's something the Isles will do. But again, I don't know what the hell is going on in Lou Lamoriello's head.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that, I understand the appeal. And I wouldn't be against the trade, but I'd be very hesitant depending on the asking price, right? He shoots left, by the way, Sean.
So there you go. There you go.
You can disregard the last 2 minutes.
Yep. Delete.
I think it comes down to where did
now I completely changed my opinion.
Now it comes down to, for me, that's the benefit of going second sometimes. No, I think what it comes down for me is where the Islanders sit at that point in the season when you're looking at this to make this deal, right? Like if you're getting close to the deadline, you have to be confident that this is a team that's that move is going to be the one that gets you into the Stanley Cup final. That he's going to be the right fit for the Islanders roster and for the Islanders game plan, right? Because every year, and when it's like clockwork, it's happened with everybody, there's always that acclimation period. It happened to Pajot, it happened to Green, it happened to Palmieri, happened to Zajac. There is a steep learning curve when players come here late in the season and there isn't a ton of practice time. And they do not play well for the first couple games.
For whatever the case may be. Yeah, for
right.
whatever the reason is.
For whatever the reason is. Whatever that weird special sauce that Barry Trotz is brewing there. it takes a little bit of an acclimation period. So you have to be confident that you can weather that storm as well.
Yeah.
Because this is a guy, if you pick him up, you're putting him in a big role, and you're probably putting him. That's your second. I would imagine that's your second defensive pair, probably along with Scott Mayfield.
And I would think that it looks maybe a little more appealing to fans now because of the potential for Kiefer Bellows to be a breakout player for this team, because he can kind of, supplant Beauvillier on the left wing as a goal scorer if what we're seeing now is actually something he can maintain. Now, look, it could just as easily be a flash in the pan.
Right.
We get back to games, and all of a sudden Bellows goes on a 10-game goalless streak if Barry even lets him go that far. But the point is, I could see that maybe being a part of this excitement about it is, maybe Kiefer Bellows kind of, again, makes it a little easier to deal Beauvillier, but it's still a lot of assets to give up. And it's funny, by comparison, you look at they got 2 second-rounders for Devon Taves, so it's just a king's ransom by comparison. And, I mean, look at how much we struggle to even say which Bridgeport player is going to make the Islanders, right, next year, because the cupboard is bare.
Yeah.
So it's like, do they need a guy like him? Yeah, probably. For that price, it's tough.
Did you misspoke and say did you misspeak and say Ratty's name wrong?
I thought I said it's pronounced Ratu. It's not pronounced Ratty. It's spelled R-A-T-Y, but it's Ratu. I think I said Ratu. I mean, we can check the tape later.
Oh no, you did. People are making fun of you, I think.
That's fine. I don't care. That's great.
I was just asking.
Oh,
because if it was, I wanted to jump in. No, I think that's a great point too, because see here again, my thing is that this is not a move you make for. Like, this is a move to me that you make as you think you're going to get to the Cup final, and he is the missing link, or he's going to push that team. And I think that's the mentality that Lou Lamoriello uses when he makes these trades. Is this the guy that pushes us over the barrier that we haven't been able to clear the last 2 years?
Well, with his youth, he's a guy you could use whether it's for this year or beyond.
Right.
I mean, he's a guy you would want on this team going forward. He wouldn't just be a deadline, quote unquote, acquisition just to, pad their chances into the playoffs this year. This would be something long-term as well. Something that not only you bring in for the chance this year, but also a guy you try to fit under your cap going forward.
Right.
And that's been a big part of this
Well,
team's
that's a whole
problem.
other, yeah.
Right, exactly. You got to be able to stomach giving up the assets that are involved and then figure out a way to actually keep this guy under the cap, because it was a problem previous. Now, maybe that's
previous
because
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and now granted there was some problems with that Lou kind of took on, just coming to the team, right? I mean, the Ladd contract was already here.
Right.
You had some contracts like that kind of saddled him. And then, of course, the unexpected COVID situation where everybody was expecting the cap to go up every year, but then that stopped once COVID came in, and that made the flat cap, and it's only been going up like $1 million now each year.
Yeah, it's not a lot. So like the Islanders, there's still a lot of financial hoops that they have to jump through. So it all adds these different layers into what these trades are. And I think Islander fans, I think fans in general are always so quick to go like, yeah, let's do it. Like people look at Beauvillier and they go, all right, I'll ship him off. I mean, Mike O'Brien he's already packing Beauvillier's bag right now. But there's a lot that goes into this deal, and there's a lot of hurdles that Lou Lamoriello has to go through for this to make sense. And let's say he pulls off the trade, and the Islanders get to the conference final again. They get to they make the playoffs, they get to the conference final and they don't win, or they get deep in the playoffs, but they don't have the cap space to keep him. And you already gave up all these assets to get him in there in the first place.
Yeah, and the broader conversation is for a show probably in the summer, when we're talking about where they go with these contracts and stuff, because they do have some guys that are now have entered their 30s that have some long-term contracts that maybe even if they're not an issue now, they will be soon. And that's another juggling act that Lou is going to have to deal with. And, I'm kind of referring to the Anders Lees and the Brock Nelsons and suddenly Kyle Palmieri, if he doesn't kind of get his act together, right? You just sign him to this fresh 4-year deal, and you don't want that looking like a bad contract so soon. But the production isn't there right now. So I mean, again, extremely long-winded answer to this question. I don't know if it's such a foregone conclusion or anything like that. Not to say that Mike was insinuating that, but I don't know if it's something that Lou is going to be so quick to do. It's a player I'd love for him to get, especially now that I've learned that he's a lefty. But again, it's a high price to pay, and there's just so many other factors that go into it. But I guess we'll see.
All right. Question brewing from Thomas Panic. Sean, what's your list of top 5 musical acts?
Wow, top 5.
Which I thought, great question from Thomas Panic.
That is an ever-evolving list for me. But bands that I'm listening to right now that I'd say that kind of are up towards the top right now, a band called He Is Legend. Big fan of those guys. They're from Carolina, not very well known, but love those guys. I've always been a Perfect Circle fan. They were a favorite band of mine for a long time.
I feel like you're making these names up.
I'm not. You're just missing out, man. You're just missing out. Let's see. I've been listening to Royal Blood a lot. Love those guys. I saw them with Queens of the Stone Age a couple of years ago at Barclays Center, funny enough, and they were awesome.
Hey, that used to be a hockey arena.
It's true. Well, was it? Was it, though? But and
it used to be a building that they put ice in awkwardly.
But at Queens of the Stone Age is actually one of my favorite bands, too. Also a Mastodon guy. I mean, I could go on, but
Mastodon.
Those are a couple of the bands I'm listening to right now. Periphery, I'm a big fan of. They're like a prog metal band. And Florence and the Machine, big Florence and the Machine fan.
Oh, nice.
To go off of that metal kick there for a second. But those are the ones that come to the top of my head right now that I'm probably listening to most. Thanks for the question.
Very nice. And then we'll go to the last question here from T-Boyle13. Question brewing, with Dobson and RFA this summer, what do you think his AAV will be?
Can you bring up what he's currently making?
Yeah, I can.
Bring up what he's currently making, and we can go from there. If his production continues, I mean, look, he's not going to keep putting 10 points up in 10 games, but if he starts, heading towards that 30, 40-point plateau over an 82-game season, again, assuming the Islanders even get to 82 games this season. Have I stalled enough for you to get to Cap Flynn?
Assuming anyone gets to 82 games this season.
That's fair, actually. But look, if you look recently over these guys like Pulock and Pelech, they kind of got those bridge deals, those 2 to 3 year bridge deals that were kind of in the, maybe the $3 to $4 million area, if I'm remembering correctly. What's he got right now?
His AAV is 1.4.
So he's still on his entry-level contract. So, yeah, I would say probably maybe in the $4 million, unless – but there's a new trend now with these young guys coming off their ELC. If they do prove themselves and the GMs don't want to deal with,
this down the line in like 2 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe they give him a 7-8 year deal and they lock him up for something closer to $5-6 million a year, maybe $6. Again, if he continues at this pace and the Islanders like what they see out of him, maybe they go long term. They just say, I don't want to deal with this contract for a while. But if we look at past history again, they've kind of done that 2 or 3 year bridge contract, and then they worry about the payout, later on. But I would say if it's on the shorter term, maybe around 3-4 mil. If it's on the longer term, then you're probably looking at 5-6.
Yeah, I think honestly, the Islanders are probably going to lean towards, as long as things stay steady, I would see them trying to lock him up a little bit longer term and not having to deal with this, because I think they're getting very weary of all these sort of off seasons where it's a game of like, what in the world are we, like, having to be an economic genius to try and sneak everyone under the cap and pull this off and pull that off, and you risk losing X, Y, and Z because you need to keep this guy, but that. So I would imagine that they're probably trying to anyway. And then I think it would be advantageous for both sides if they can work out a longer-term deal. The Islanders kind of avoid the chaos they've had the last couple of years, and Dobson gets a little bit more of a long-term stability instead of going 2 years and then having to renegotiate his contract again for that longer 6-7 year deal that they'd ultimately end up giving him anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Either way, if he keeps progressing the way he is, he's a guy you're going to want on the squad for a long time, and you're going to have a nice right side with Pulock and Dobson, and then Mayfield as your third pair. He's a great third pair right D, so that's solid. They just got to get that left side shored up again, because it was looking great for a while a couple years ago, and now they're just trying to patch it up again.
Boy, that's part of it. Why I think they're going to try and be more proactive. I mean, you even look at how proactive they were with some of these other contracts. What's the Pelech contract this offseason, or the Pulock contract? where, I mean, that you kind of forgot like that was coming up in another year, and like, oh, let's just get this done. Because I think they were so weary of having to go through that process again that, especially with so much uncertainty about how much the cap's going to go up, the fluctuation of everything, they just wanted to get it done. I could kind of see it being a similar situation with Dobson.
I would prefer it to go that way. I would. Give him a long term where it's, a little more money, but still reasonable. Something that over time will help you fit under the cap, especially under the assumption that it does start to go up again.
And what the Islanders have for them that I don't think you see with a lot of other teams is sort of that brand loyalty that the Islanders players have for it, right? I mean, you look at some of the deals that Cizikas took, the Pelech took, some of these very more team-friendly deals than you would have imagined for guys who deservingly should have gotten paid a little bit more. And so I think that does a lot for the Islanders, too, where they can kind of get guys to buy into what they're doing. I mean, it's helped that they went to the conference final
Christian,
2 years in a row.
We've talked about it. They're finally one of those franchises where they kind of have all the pieces in place in the sense that they have recency as far as winning goes.
Right.
They have a brand new arena. They have one of the best practice facilities, and they play in a great area, New York City, baby, right? So they have a lot of things going for them now, and they have stability, and this is something that draws, more top-end players and makes guys want to stick around. I mean, this is something that, they've needed for such a long time. So even though they've been in a bit of a cap situation lately, again, because of past contracts and because of the cap, ceiling getting flattened and whatnot, but now they can kind of progress towards more flexibility under their cap once, those deals kind of start to go by the wayside, and they have these younger guys they can sign to more reasonable contracts, guys that have the buy-in and say, hey, look, you don't need to give me $12 million, even if I'm worth that. I'll take a discount because I believe in this franchise, I believe in this team and where we're going. So hopefully that's something that continues to happen with the New York Islanders.
That's very true. We will see, but that is the last question.
That's the last question. So you know why I might have thought that Chychrun was a righty instead of a lefty?
Why?
Because of Klingberg. Didn't he recently just come out and say that he was demanding a trade in Dallas?
Did he?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm thinking of the right guy. But yeah, there was a defenseman on Dallas, and he's a right shot. And maybe I confused the two. Maybe. Yeah, look that up. I'm pretty sure Klingberg requested a trade. Or it would be even better, actually, if he didn't. Just look wrong again. But that's it for Questions Brewing, ladies and gentlemen. So.
Oh, I forgot there's no music. That's why I paused.
Yeah, we got to get some music in for that. Thank you, M. O'Brien, 11195. Yes,
I'm happy with contract negotiating with
Klingberg, who's the right D. So maybe that's what it was. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, Questions Brewing is over. Brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company and their world famous Barn Rocker, delicious ale,
which you can get at UBS Arena.
UBS Arena, you can get it across the country now.
Get it
coast to coast. It's everywhere.
Bar to bar.
So I'm pretty sure we're good here. We can wrap. I think we're all done. Do you have anything meaningless to add, Christian?
No, I don't.
All right, folks. Well, then, let's cue the music. Want to send a big thanks out to Chris King of the Islanders Radio Network for hopping on the show, giving us a great segment tonight.
I'm told you can get Barn Rocker at RJ Daniels as well.
Is that right? Look at that. No, we knew that. We knew that. You can get the Barn Rocker at RJ Daniels. So, folks, want to also thank you for joining us here at Hockey Night in New York, twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and, of course, your favorite podcast providers. Want to thank all our sponsors, starting with RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. The best place to catch the Isles when you can't make it to the game. And remember, don't just go for the Isles. They have live music, comedy nights, trivia, a late-night bar scene. They have it all. Huge thanks to Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. And, of course, East Islip and UBS Arena, official partner of the New York Islanders and the greatest deli around. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for their great selections and hockey-themed heroes. And, of course, a big thanks to Tide Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TideTechnology.com for all your telecom needs, or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. And a huge thanks to Oyster Bay Brewing Company, located at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay. You can order their great beers and merchandise at oysterbaybrewing.com for curbside pickup, local delivery, or shipping anywhere in New York, and get 15% off with coupon code HNINY. Folks, if you enjoy the show, please rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your strangers, let everybody know. And if you want to follow Christian on Twitter at C_Arnold01, you can catch him there. If you want to follow myself at Shawnee Hockey, and of course, if you want to follow the show at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For Christian Arnold, my name is Sean Cuthbert. Hopefully there's Islander hockey this week. Either way, we will see you next week.
Mahalo.